Better sleep is simple. Just track your activity. Avoid blue light. Get
regularly.
adequate exposure to natural light. Or maybe you just need a little more from your mattress. An adjustable base offers personalized comfort with customizable head and foot positions that can help relieve back pain and alleviate snoring. Elevate your sleep at Ashley.
Need balloons? The new party shop at Michael's has over 700 balloon styles to choose from. Just tap and schedule in-store pickup or same-day delivery. Balloons just got easier. Michael's, everything to celebrate anything.
Go here. Chat should be able to hear us. Hello, chat. Sand says, I literally can't believe YouTube is real. We are live, by the way.
Phenomenal conservatism, which is true, by the way. This is very funny coming from something that is titled the Uncertainty Podcast.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna show.
Contradictions here.
Okay, let me pop out chat so I can see it. How do I do that? Here we go. Okay, hello everyone. Hello chat. Looks like people are still filtering in, so we'll give it a few minutes. The videos that we have up on the docket, let me share those. Let me switch scenes. so everyone else can see. Okay. And should be this one. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna have to play with this. That'll be fine. Okay. So, actually, wait. Let me.
I can't believe YouTube is real.
Let's try something like. No, that doesn't. Something like this. We'll do something like this. See how that looks. Okay. Hello, gamers. Indeed. We should do a game night sometime. That would be fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Might need some more participants, but and we could stream for the rest of the viewers.
Well, good luck finding a normal sleep schedule for everybody.
Yeah. Chat here. Okay. This is the videos I have up on the docket for today. We have Philosophers Don't Want to Solve Philosophy and Other Hot Takes by whoever the hell this guy is. It's a smaller channel, I think. Here, let's see. Oh, it doesn't say. Let's see. Yeah, like a 4K subscriber channel. Oh, hello. San says, big proponent of getting everyone in on blueprints. I love blueprints. Oh, audio problems? God damn it. Okay.
Who said audio problems?
Rudd just DM'd me. How does it sound?
Oh,
Speak.
talking.
Hello?
Hello,
Is that better?
hello.
Richard is fine.
Okay.
I'm gonna boost Discord audio a little bit. Okay, that should be better. Let's see this. Also, you shouldn't be hearing it through my speakers. I doubt that that's what it actually is. Yeah, Blueprints is that puzzle roguelike. Yeah, it is awesome. I actually recently did a not quite 100% playthrough recently from start to finish. Love that game. Oh, hello, YouTube channel. Is this RimWorld? This is not RimWorld. No. Let's see what else we have up on the docket. We also have why modern sexual ethics opened a door it can't close.
And two white guys.
Yeah, with two white guys. I love white guys talking about sexual ethics. Hero versus Jack Engstrich on theism. This is probably going to be annoying, whatever the hell this is. We have The Man Who Proved God Real, a video about Spinoza. I guess I didn't review my Spinoza before this, but my Spinoza's all right. I could pull up some stuff for it. Captain Jumpy says, some dweeb said I'd like Blueprints more if I read Pale Fire first. I don't really know why. I don't even know what that's referring
If
to.
he proved God is real, he definitely didn't prove the theological God is real. That's not the kind of God that he's interested in.
Yeah, so Spinoza, I would feel comfortable calling Spinoza an atheist. Spinoza had personally espoused religious beliefs, but his understanding and deployment of God philosophically is completely incompatible with any history or understanding of anything that we would call traditionally theist. He's an atheistic philosopher. So depending on the framing here, this is going to be very silly.
Yeah.
Next we have Math Predicting the Death of Nations. So this is going to be like
Oh,
some
boy.
Leo is it Spengler? that does the whole like
No, this is some Jang shit, dude.
yeah, I mean this is basically Jang shit. Who is it that's like the birth and death of nations or whatever, the life cycle of nations?
Yeah, Oswald Spengler.
Yeah, Spengler. So I think that this is neo-Spenglerism using like hack math. So this could be funny. We have this one. Ex-gender critical philosopher interviews gender critical philosopher. This sounds like absolute pain. I don't know what an ex-gender critical.
Bogardus.
Yeah,
I don't think that guy was ever.
I
Oh
guess
my God.
Ray Alex.
Yeah, he's the
Williams-
gender critical philosopher.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think Ray Alex Williams is the ex-gender critical, so I guess he's like no longer transphobic or whatever.
Mhm.
Because that's the only
Okay.
thing that gender critical seems to mean to these people. Oh, this one's for. I'm saving this one. I'm gonna put it in a different place. I'm saving that one for Ambrose. That's a special one. And then this one. Are
Uh-oh.
most people shallow thinkers? With Brittany Simon. This one's gonna be just pure pain, I assume. So,
Yeah, I give myself maybe 30 seconds on that one. We'll see.
okay, so it's, by the way, it seems like I need to redo the Discord audio every time I start up OBS. So I guess I'll have to make note of that in the future. Because otherwise it's
That's
a little,
strange.
it's a little
Should
borked.
not. That doesn't sound right.
That's okay. I don't have to make a new one. I just have to re-click it to Discord. Otherwise it seems a little borked. Someone said, I'm curious what, this is the Physics Gamer. I'm curious what Tommy Bogardus, or Bogardi is up to. I'd be fine with Bogardus. The Physics Gamer says, I'm about to go on a big gender reading list, and I bought his book for it because Sunday was taking too long to respond to it. Yeah. What's on your gender reading list? That sounds like it could be funny. Is it just reactionaries, or do you have like a mix of like gender theory and reactionaries? If so, we may be able to have some recommendations in the GSL. There will be, and we need to get an update on this actually. When is the second sex reading going to be? Because that's supposed to be relatively soon, right? So, like mid-August?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I presume whenever Imran finishes his Freud.
Right. It's a 50-50 mix of reactionary and allegedly good stuff. Okay. Yeah, if you want to pop that list in the GSL sometime, that could be fun. Okay. Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to close that. Let's see. I kind of
Dr. Brian.
Okay. So this guy wrote a book. Maybe we save this if we need a cleanse to see if this is any good. We can go for Bogardus though. I also am kind of feeling this video because I feel like this is, but it might just be too stupid to get much out of.
Yeah, let's give it a try.
Okay.
All right, which one are we doing first?
The math on the death of nations. Okay. Hello, Bob. Okay, give me like 5 seconds and then I'll boot this up.
In this video, we're going to try to make some mathematical models of the rise and fall of countries. We'll base this off the work of Peter Turchin, who's written a number of books.
Peter Turchin. Okay, let's Google that real quick. Actually, I think I've already taken a peek at this for this video. Yeah, this guy's a biologist, right? Who's using like biological studies of like populations to mathematically predict the death of nations.
Oh yeah,
Developed,
we talked about this.
specializes in an area of study he and his colleagues developed called cliodynamics, mathematical modeling and statistical analysis of the dynamics of historical societies.
Already off the bat, not a great sign. Let me pull this to the front. Yeah, already a
This
bad
guy's
start.
qualifications. Let's see.
What is this YouTube account like? I've never seen Fractal Philosophy before. Or actually, I've seen these in recommended before. Let me-
Seen what recommended before?
Some of these Fractal Philosophy videos. Things
Really?
AI will never
Oh,
understand.
not my algorithm.
I've only seen this one in my algorithm, but I never clicked on it. So, okay, well, I guess we'll give it an
Let's
opportunity.
see. Alma Mater, New York University, Duke University, Moscow State University.
Interesting path.
on the subject, both looking at historical trends and
Secular
Yeah, go ahead.
cycles.
applying them to try predicting the trajectories of countries like the United States. You can tell by these titles he isn't the most optimistic about the near future. One of the things that sets Turchin apart is that he
Oh, let me resize this real quick. This is awkward. Okay. Guess I'll just have to do a slightly
Received a BA cum laude in biology from New York University, PhD in zoology from Duke University, and yeah. Turchin's training is as a theoretical biologist. He holds no degrees in history.
Okay, that's already a bad sign. Non-historian.
Yeah.
explicitly writes out the formulas and data he's basing his predictions off of.
Okay, so his whole thing is to turn a history into a formula, which is already a bad sign, because that's not how historians generally are going to develop
Wow.
history.
Yeah.
Captain Jumpy says biologists are usually pretty bad at math. That's also true.
I don't think it's true.
Well, on
Because
the,
you have to do a lot of math to become a biologist.
on the scale of like physicist to biologist, biologists are, for example, I know that.
I was comparing them to like humanities people and artists and shit.
Well, actually, I wouldn't. I'm not sure I would even compare them favorably to humanities people, because so there's a lot of stuff in humanities, at least like sociology, right, that requires a bunch of statistics and like statistical methods and stuff. I talked with my stats professor about this. He said that there's actually a big issue in biology of the stuff that biology degrees were designed around was not well equipped for statistical studies. And so they've had to have basically like a stopgap where they have a like outsourcing of a lot of statistics stuff because people just aren't trained in statistics for biology. So they have there's a
You mean like when writing like doing actual studies and like writing papers and shit?
yes, yeah. So there's a whole
They don't do their own
there's
statistics.
a whole
Kind of an
field.
outdated problem now, though.
Oh, okay.
Because you're required to take statistics nowadays and like bioinformatics.
Yeah, he was talking about how there's a whole field of like statistics for biology, and that it's really well paid because they end up outsourcing a lot of the statistical work and biological studies to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is true, but also outdated now.
Fair. That would make sense.
Plus, it feels like one of those problems that like people are going to solve with AI nowadays.
Maybe, but I wouldn't. The thing that AI is not really going to ever bridge the gap on, or at least I would not trust it to, would be understanding the limits of statistical modeling, which is what we're going to run into really quick here. Which is why can we assume that some of the fundamental assumptions around these like data patterns are going to hold such that they're like sufficiently predictive, right?
We have trouble doing it with the weather,
Right.
especially forecasted further into the future, even just like a few weeks. This is incorporating the social. Like, this is orders of magnitude more complicated than trying to predict weather.
Captain Jumpy says, I worked in the math center at my college as a tutor, and most of the people I worked with were bio majors. That's funny.
10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, this is fair, Richard, that it's probably outdated. I'm going to get a little bit more light in my room. Let me resume this.
So we're going to try diving into those equations to better understand both his theories as well as other complex dynamics. We're going to be looking at the simplest version of the models he suggests from his book Historical Dynamics, both because it lets us model everything in its totality, whereas more complicated models will have a number of variables that are not really quantifiable in the same way, and because, as you'll see, the math and visualizations are going to get complicated enough just with these simple models. So, starting with the most basic concept, a big part of understanding the models we're going to be talking about here lies in having an intuitive understanding of the difference between linear and exponential growth. Linear growth, like we have on the left here, means we have a constant change over time. In this case, we have 100 balls being added to this pile every second. But in exponential growth, like we have on the right here, the rate of change increases over time. Here I have the balls splitting every second or so, which means that as the number of balls increase, there'll be more balls that are splitting, and therefore the number of new balls added each second is going to increase over time. The practical result of this is that while exponential growth might start slower because it's building over time, by the end it explodes way faster than linear growth. Now, when you're trying to mathematically model real-life systems,
Yeah. So this is what I was talking about earlier with like the thing that AI, it can get you an understanding of, for example, like how to work with a set of data potentially, right? And how to manipulate a set of data. What it can't do is
It can do the math for you, but
Yeah,
you
it
need
can-
to interpret it yourself and like set up the tests yourself.
Right. And so it also is not going to be able to give an accurate understanding of, for example, could a linear growth turn into an exponential growth under the right circumstances, or vice versa. For example, population growth has been at times exponential, and at other times is like linear and diminishing returns, or stagnant, or even negative, right? And so if you're modeling something like population growth and you're just using simple statistical methods, you can do the math right, but the assumptions going into it are incorrect. And so it's not going to give you an appropriate picture of how to apply the assumptions that you're making, right?
Yeah, I think scope is really important here as a kind of human decision in what's relevant, what's important, what pertains.
Yeah, one of the biggest things stats courses will teach you is the limitations of statistics, and also how easy it is to produce statistics that say a thing, even if that thing isn't more or less true than other things. Things like post hoc analysis, right? Necessarily, if we're talking about stuff with history, you're going to run into a lot of post hoc analysis, which can still be useful, but you have to be careful about what kind of predictive power you attempt to give it.
there's a number of different techniques you can use. For example, you might know that the equation for linear growth looks something like this, and the equation for exponential growth looks something like this. But in this video, what we're going to be interested in is less the full value of some variable at a specific time, and more the dynamics of how things are changing. Given where we are now in history, what's likely to happen in the next X years. And for that kind of reasoning, it's more helpful to look at what are called differential equations. Differential equations output the rate of change. And so linear growth will look like this. It's just a constant number. It's always 100 new population every second. Whereas exponential growth will look like this. The rate of change is dependent on the current population. And I think this is a much more intuitive way of understanding the dynamics of what's going on here. In our example, it's really obvious that below 100 population, the exponential growth is going to be slower. But above 100 population, it's going to be faster.
By the way, this isn't even getting into actual mathematical modeling. Not yet. This is literally just types of equations.
The fact that they're explaining like the very basics of the concept of like exponential growth has me a little bit concerned about the kind of audience that this is going to be going after, which is the kind of audience that does not have the tools to.
Gee, couldn't be any Malthusians in chat, huh?
Right. Thomas Malthus.
Oh yeah, of course.
Of course.
Fucking okay. Yep.
Yeah,
And
literally.
I think that
Ambrose says, in general, what gives something away as chart junk or bad stats for you guys? I TA'd a course on how to read infographics, etc. a long time ago, but I'm interested in your take. Ooh, it's gonna
even when you're talking. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You can answer that.
It's gonna depend. I'm not sure that I have a simple heuristic for that. I guess it's something you have to sort of work through with any particular claim and set of data.
What I was gonna say is that, like, technically this is not even modeling population growth per se, because population growth is not just, it's like you're saying you're giving a model, but all you're doing is you're just tracking a number. This is not a mathematical model. Like, for a mathematical model of population growth, you'd have to look at, okay, what are all the inputs and the outputs and how they all interact with each other? Like, food supply, like what's the whole like agricultural situation? What are the logistics? What is the I don't know, like how many children per household can be sustained in a given geographic area? Like, this is not modeling.
Yeah. This is none of this yet is modeling. This is just explaining exponential growth. Which have they even?
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Kind of intuition is a lot harder to get from the normal equations. So in this video, you're going to see a lot of differential equations, but we're also going to be using what's called agent-based modeling, and that's what you saw with the balls there. The idea here is that instead of just manipulating numbers, you can actually make a simulation of the thing you're trying to model in real life. It's kind of like making a little mock-up video game of the thing you're trying to analyze. Here, I'm not directly tracking the population numbers at all. I'm just having each green ball independently decide when it reproduces, and then measuring how often that happens.
Okay, sure shot. So they're finally getting to the actual modeling part.
Yes.
As computers have gotten better and better, this is becoming an increasingly common way of modeling complicated systems. And hopefully I can show in this video that sometimes you can understand a situation better by seeing the agent-based model as opposed to looking at differential equations or normal equations. So we're going to start by trying to model a country's population. And that broadly works according to exponential growth, but in real life you can't just exponentially grow forever. You'll eventually hit some limit on space or resources or whatever that'll slow down growth and eventually stop.
This is already flawed from the get-go, because it's not a stable limit. There's a complex set of inputs. Already this framing is very Malthusian, right? Mm-hmm. The idea that there's like a set
This
number
reminds me...
Go ahead.
This actually, it reminds me of something that we learned in population ecology. I think it has to do with the shit. What's it called? Uh, there's this equation that models. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking about something else, a different equation. But it's going to the population forms a sigmoidal curve where it's sort of like an S shape. We have peak growth at the halfway point, and then growth is slow at both the bottom and the top,
Interesting.
where x-axis is time and y-axis is population. And you reach what's called IC50 at that's where you reach peak growth, and it's around when your resources start running out. And then at the very top, you reach what's called carrying capacity, which is the highest population that you can have with your current level of resources. So yeah, even though, of course, the world's always changing, the environment's always changing, with like, it doesn't even have to be as complicated as like anthropocentric, like not population damage, ecological damage. It could just be like variance in the seasons. Like you might have a long summer or a particularly cold winter, etc., etc. So yeah, even though we learn it this like simplified way, it's not that helpful at actually representing what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. You end up doing sort of like what a bad quant does, where they sort of like look at a pattern and they're like sort of like, this totally looks like this pattern, and it's like you're retroactively applying the
whole Pareto distribution thing that they babble about all the time.
That as well, but I'm talking about like economic people trying to predict the economy do the same thing.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, this is simple, it's just exponential growth. And it's like, well, there's a lot of inputs that are making this pattern appear this way in this exact moment. But you can't just say this is exponential growth because you don't know how long or why it's going to keep that pattern unless you are like a mega computer that doesn't exist on Earth that has mathematical modeling of everything that exists. Like, I think Ambrose hit it on that nail. I kind of feel like the problem with Malthusian thinking is that the conclusion is contained in the premises. Population growth will be excessive for resources available, so when will that happen? Yeah, I mean, Malthusianism makes a lot of assumptions about how math will apply to populations when the relationship is necessarily a dynamic one. That's I actually heard a really interesting anecdote about this for economic modeling, where Sam Bankman-Fried apparently used to be a Wall Street guy, and he came up with a genius mathematical model that was able to trade on volatility in a novel way that was faster than anyone else at the time. And was really successful for a very short period of time. And then working off of things like fear and how the market behaves to certain changes in trends and volatility. And then the market changed how it operated. And suddenly all of this like beautiful looking mathematical modeling that's like accounting for all of these different ways that things change is completely irrelevant. You have to come up with completely new equations because the equations are post hoc analysis. They're ways that we're understanding a modeling of how things are changing in a very...
They're not laws. You're not discovering laws about the way that it works.
Yeah, you're not discovering like universal laws of economy. You're retroactively applying like a mathematical model that fits well enough to a historical set of data. And that's the issue we're going to be running into.
So for our agent-based model, we're going to start with the same green balls to represent population that we used earlier. But now we're also going to have this big field of orange cubes that represent resources. The pops will have to consume resources both to survive and to reproduce. Each pop will first grab up to 5 resources, place 1 at its home location it started at, and then the rest in a surplus zone. We'll then create a new green pop for every 4 resources in this surplus zone, and then send everyone back to do it all again. As I speed this up, you'll see that the population keeps growing larger and larger, and the amount of resources they're collecting keeps getting bigger and bigger too. But eventually we'll reach this point when the pops can grab all the resources.
So yeah, they're just mathematically modeling an assumed Malthusian premise already. Because they're saying there's this set amount of resources, then we're doing sort of like a Conway's Game of Life-esque model of how things are improving, or sorry, how population is growing, and then saying, okay, well, this is what it looks like. You're not simulating people, you're just simulating Malthusian premises. Like, you're preempting it in the premises.
Yeah.
That are available.
It seems before you even attempt to do this, you should be doing like an incredibly deep, like ethnographic. I don't know, what would you call it? Like
it would be
like ethnographic, sociological, economic study of agents. However you want to scale that, agents could be corporate, it could be corporations, it could be financial institutions, it could be individual people.
Right. It's worth noting there's a lot of interesting stuff you can learn with modeling and data, but necessarily you always have to be remembering that you're only looking at things through a specific number of very limited axes. The questions that you ask, the framing, how they get asked are determinative of how the model works. And so you're necessarily sort of like producing a limited set of outcomes that the model can account for.
Yeah. And so if you just like try to look if you just play around with basic variables to make a line that conforms to, say, historical population data, your model isn't actually based on anything that actually happened or is happening in the real world. You're just making up math that works to make the line as you see it through this.
Well, yeah, and that's precisely
window.
What this is, because they've already started with the Malthusian premise of a very specific set number of resources that doesn't change, and then a population that never changes the amount that it consumes. And so there's like this steady relationship between the two.
Yeah.
Still going to be growing, but each individual pop is collecting less resources than they could, so the growth is going to start slowing down. Eventually, we'll reach a saturation point, where there's only enough resources for each pop to get what they need to survive, and there's no leftover resources left to reproduce. In biology, this model of exponential growth, but with diminishing returns, is called logistic growth. And if you go and look up the equation for logistic growth, you get something that looks like this, which, at least to me, is not really intuitive and easy to understand what it's doing. But on the other hand, if you look up the equations for the differential equations for logistic growth, you can find stuff like this, which to me is way more intuitive. Here, n is the population size, r is the rate of change, and k is the carrying capacity, which in our case is the maximum amount of resources that can be grabbed.
Okay. Sure.
It's not really the maximum amount of resources that can be grabbed. It's the population when the maximum amount of resources are grabbed.
Interesting. Oh, let's go back a sec for that.
In our
because
case,
the unit is population, right? The units have to equal out.
Right.
Maximum amount of resources that can be grabbed. If you remember, our differential equation for exponential growth was just r times n. That is the base rate of change multiplied by the number of population that currently exists.
I keep... this is not... Why do they keep calling this exponential growth? Wouldn't it need to be exponential? Like, this is polynomial. Is that... Am I crazy?
Is that the same thing?
No.
Is
Polynomial
is that notation?
I don't think... So... Polynomial would be
I don't remember.
two numbers multiplied by each other, right? And you can have polynomial growth, and it can be like multiplying by 2 each time. That's polynomial growth. Exponential growth is multiplying by itself, right? It's growing at an exponential rate, so it's growing at a faster rate as it grows faster, right?
Oh, so polynomial growth is just linear.
Yes.
Okay, the thing is that this is the diffie-q.
Well, actually,
of,
is polynomial growth linear? I don't...
Okay, wait, let's see this. The general forms are y... Wait. Yeah, it is. It is linear.
Okay,
Y equals mx plus b.
right. So I guess I'm wondering why they're displaying it this way. Because if it's a... I guess it depends
Yeah, I guess it's not even the diffie-q.
Right.
Because the, I don't remember how to
oh, okay, it's multiplying
take
by
the
a
derivative.
power. Mink says the rate of change is representing a power. They're just displaying it this way. If I'm understanding that correctly. Ah, okay. Thank you, everyone. That makes sense.
So the only addition that logistic growth is making is this element, which you can pretty obviously see when n is 0 or close to 0, this is around 1, and when n is about the same as k, this ends up being 0. So the rate of change for low population numbers is going to be about the same as...
Jemp says, Porter's Trust in Numbers is a pretty good book that deals with this fetishization of quantification. Sounds really interesting. I will save that for later. Yeah, I've taken, I have not taken differential equations. The highest I've gone in math is, I took stats, and I took calculus 2, which was fun. Although it's been a couple years.
Yeah, I haven't taken calc since high school.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mink says polynomial is a general usage term, but when applied to trends, it usually first polynomial is a flat or subtract. Second polynomial is linear. Third is you add in a squared component. Interesting. Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
exponential growth. But as n approaches k, the rate of change is going to drop down to 0. When logistic growth is applied to human population, it sometimes gets called Malthusian growth, after the author Thomas Malthus, who wrote a book about this in 1798. To directly quote his words, population, when unchecked, increases in a geometrical ratio, and subsistence for man in a arithmetical ratio.
Okay, yeah, this is the same thing they were just talking about. Geometrical here meaning... oh, I'm getting it.
Non-linear?
Yeah, meaning exponential. And then arithmetic means
Arithmetical would be
means
linear.
linear.
Now, this was written over 200 years ago, so the language being used is a little different. For example, in my dialect of English, the adjective version of arithmetic is arithmetic, not arithmetical. But he's basically talking about the same thing we were. By geometrical, he's talking about exponential growth, and by arithmetical, he's talking about linear growth, or at least close enough concepts. So he gives the example that the United States doubles its population every 25 years. Which is, interestingly enough, a stat he got from Benjamin Franklin, but that's a whole nother tangent. He expects that, as of 1800 when he's writing this, The US could maybe double the amount of food they're producing in the next 25 years to match that. But, quoting him again here, in the next 25 years, it is impossible to suppose that the produce could be quadrupled. It would be contrary to all our knowledge of the quantities of the land. So he thinks the amount of food produced in the US could maybe be doubled what it is in 1800, but certainly not quadrupled that. No amount of better farming or land management could get over that. And I don't know if you've been paying attention, but let me just pull up this Wikipedia page about agriculture in the US. From 1997 to 2014, we doubled the amount of food we produced. His ideas of the theoretical limits are so far below what they actually were. And that's because he didn't really fully comprehend the effects of things like the Industrial Revolution.
Right.
The US didn't quite double its population every 25 years like he said the utmost limit could be, but our population now is like 70 times bigger than when he was alive. And in general, there's like 8 times as many people on the planet now. And I think that's important to bring up here because a lot of times modeling future situations like this, you're going to be wrong. Okay. But that doesn't mean the underlying logic is incorrect.
I was about to say, so they're being a little bit more conscientious about how they're displaying the information, but
yeah, that seems like a bit of a jump. How can you tell that the logic is still correct if the model can't be correct?
Right. This seems a strange post.
Seems like you're taking it for granted.
Yeah.
People today generally agree with the ideas that Malthus put forward, but it turns out that real life was a lot more complicated. There were other things he wasn't taking into account when he gave his upper limits of human growth, both like technologically, but also socially. Like if you look at birth rates today, lots of countries are making more food than ever, but have their birth rates going down. The decisions of individual people is a lot more complicated than just food in, babies out. Now, despite Malthusian growth being not accurate to how population works anymore, it's still the basis of the structural demographic theory that Turchin is arguing applies to today. But it's applied in a kind of more metaphorical sense. The idea is that while populations aren't quite following this, there are other processes that are analogous that are still following a model of exponential growth with diminishing returns. For example, things like supply versus demand curves, where initially you're going to get increasing returns on your investment, but eventually you're going to saturate a market and get lower returns. We'll talk more about that later, but we're going to keep going with the basic pre-industrial version as that's just simpler to model for now. So as our next step to get a little more realistic than the basic Malthusian model, we're going to add a concept of a state that takes in some resources as taxation and then uses those to increase the total amount of resources available. The idea...
This is a very strange model considering... Okay. Why is the state being the central part of this?
As that's just simpler to model for now. So as our next step to get a little more realistic than the basic Malthusian model, we're going to add a concept of a state that takes in some resources as taxation and then uses those to increase the total amount of resources.
Okay. Sure.
Is available. The idea is this is analogous to something like state-funded infrastructure or civil administration that make it more efficient for people to get the resources. So our agent-based model is going to start with some...
But why wouldn't this be true of all, like, production related to anything that would incentivize or increase, like, access to resources that are necessary for population growth? Like, why is this not true of, like, profit-focused industry as well? Why specifically state funding? It's an interesting framing. Not Lord Canty says, the death of a nation is when the state does stuff. Possibly. Matt B says, can we assume it's a spherical state to simplify the model? Exactly. A spherical frictionless state.
With the same mechanics, we have pops that grab resources from this big field, place one at their starting location that they use to eat, and then place the rest of what they gathered in a surplus zone. But now we have a couple new mechanics. Some percentage of the surplus resources collected is going to go to the state as taxation, here represented by this smaller box with the dotted line, which is 20% of the surplus. The state also has expenses, which is this box here. In my example here, we're having the state need 0.2 resources for every member of the population. If the state made more money in taxation that it needs to expense, then it can store the rest in this box here. And finally, we have the state increase the supply of resources. So the bigger this box of state resources is...
I still don't understand why the state... this model is so weird. Why is this...
It's a warehouse for resources.
Yeah, this...
Yeah, I don't know.
This is
Shouldn't
like-
it be like purely economic?
This is like Civ 5.
Like the purely materialist?
This is like Civ brain, where it's like, yeah, the big guy with the guns is like the one who like decides how many resources there will be. Like, what are you talking about? States can do things that will policy, that will influence production, but it's not like this. I don't. Why is the state the thing that's growing? Like, why not changes in technological or business environments, local and global trade, enabling like specialization, like the capitalist mode of production? Why is it states are the only thing that can increase the possibility of production? It's very strange.
Is the bigger this box over here is, and this is bonus resources that are created by the state. I realize that's a number of things to introduce at once, but the main thing is that this box is the state's income, and this box is the state's
Yeah, this really is like Civ brain, where it's like, you need the state to, like, I guess, invest in the bonus future resources box. Like, what? Very strange.
We
expenses.
require more minerals.
Yeah.
More Vespine gas.
Oh yeah, this is like what is it, StarCraft or like Age of Empires brained.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the state like planted a new outpost in the fishing area, so now you can fish more, so you can grow your population faster. It's like, what? Felsin Forma says it's a game design channel. Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what they are. Video game programmer. Interesting.
Then why do they have a "Why is anime so weird" video?
Right. They seem to be going into like slick edited video essay stuff. Matt B says they lost touch with reality when the state wasn't running a massive deficit to fund tax cuts for the rich. Oh no. You don't understand how language works. Okay. Well,
So as long as the income box is bigger than the expense box, the state is making money and the total supply of resources is going up. But if the expense box is bigger, then the state is losing money every cycle, and therefore the supply of resources is going to go down. Now, at this point, I'm going to speed up the simulation to see what happens, but I want you to try predicting what you think the trajectory of the population size and the state size is going to be as this runs. Keeping in mind that the state expenses are based on the population size and the state population over time of our first Malthusian simulation looks like this. It starts out slow, speeds up, and then slows down again as it reaches the saturation point of 2,500. If we compare that to our new model with state taxes, we'll see that growth starts
Wait, how do
slower.
they calculate
and that's
the
because
saturation point?
It's just when their model with a very specific limited number of non-growing resources reaches the equilibrium point. That's the saturation point.
Oh, I see.
It's the point of,
Like the non-green resources.
yeah, it's the point of stagnation where there's enough resources for just replacement.
You
And
know,
of
I get
the
it
surplus is
conceptually.
Okay.
going to the state, and so less is going to just growing the population. But because the state is then growing the maximum amount of resources, the population goes above what it was in our old model. Population growth starts slowing down as we reach this higher point, but instead of just leveling out there, it crashes.
Oh, is the audio from the video coming through my mic?
Slightly, I think.
Slightly? Oh, okay. Let's see if I can fix that at all. I might be able to up this. Here, let's see if this is better.
Way back down to that base level we had before. Interestingly, if we look at the state resources
That looks
compared
better.
to the population, we see that they kind of change at different rates, with the state resources starting to slow down and eventually dip before the population crashes. The reason for this lag is that state resources are dependent on the surplus the population gathers, and therefore indirectly on the rate of change of the population. The state resources then feed back into the rate of change of the population, which causes it to snowball even faster in its decline. Now, like with Malthus, I think this is still too simplistic to draw conclusions about.
Adding elites? Honestly, how is chat feeling? I'm getting a little bored by this. I feel like we've talked about it enough. Unless
We can probably skip.
unless chat's really
little
intent
bit.
on it. Let's see. I can start a poll if you want.
Nah.
Let's sound off in chat. What do we think? Are we doing a wholesome Chungus comparison of society to Age of Empires again? Yeah, pretty much. Bob says, I feel like he's just going to make a bunch of boring mistakes that don't say much about him. Yeah.
What's the next section? Yeah, just skip to the next. To it going on about.
The state stuff is already dumb. Matt B says, I'm all for skipping. Social scientists did all this modeling properly with far more factors decades ago. Yeah, this is not interesting and not representative of anything particularly, other than the assumptions that they created. Okay. I'm fine with leaving this off here then. Do we want to talk about how philosophers don't want to solve philosophy? We could do some Spinoza.
Yeah. Let's do that next.
What do we think, chat? Spinoza or philosophers who don't want to solve philosophy? I'm good with either. Spinoza? Okay. Alright, let's run a poll real quick.
I vote broccoli head first.
Broccoli. Which one is broccoli head?
Nobody wants to solve philosophy.
Oh yeah, that's my vote too.
Oh wait, here. I haven't shown you the pure cinema of this thumbnail.
What the fuck?
That's pretty good.
How Stardew Valley's critique fails. I don't think Stardew Valley is a critique of capitalism. You're literally a capitalist.
No.
What?
Yeah,
You're like
that's what the video essay is
Well,
you're
about.
not really you're a small business owner. You're not really like a capitalist.
You're a petit bourgeois.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like the ultimate like escapism of like alienated.
cottagecore.
Yeah, it's cottagecore capitalism.
It's the idea that your labor can be unalienated in a capitalist system. Yeah, it's just like it's basically just capitalism where everybody is petit bourgeois and there's no
It's
wage
capitalism
labor.
but chill. Where everyone is sort of living in a small enough community that people are being that you can you can take care of everyone, I guess. Because you have like the infinite resource generation machine. Okay, looks like Spinoza's winning by a lot. Lo-fi capitalism beats to chill to. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm going to end the poll in 10 seconds. So get your votes in.
I hate democracy.
Oh, we're going 50-50. Oh, no. Spinoza pulling away. Hello, Big Jerry. Also, Stardew Valley is a lovely game. I appreciate it very much, but I don't think it's a proper critique of capitalism. Okay, ending the poll here. And Spinoza, the man who proved God real.
In 1929, Albert Einstein, the man often regarded as the smartest person ever, said this when questioned about his religious views: "I believe in Spinoza's God." Now, this might come as a shock to many people.
Yeah, this was not that controversial at the time. Also, Albert Einstein, an atheist who believes in Spinoza's God, not necessarily a contradiction.
A scientist who many would assume to be an atheist, openly admitting his belief in a god. Einstein was such a big fan of this Spinoza guy that he was writing love poetry to him 300 years after his death. But
That's awesome, actually. Maybe we can look that up after.
Yeah, that sounds like the most interesting thing out of this thing.
A lot of people don't actually really realize that Einstein, he doesn't have like some breakthroughs in the field of philosophy or anything, but he did engage with philosophy. Like famously, he had his debate with Bergson, which was sort of like a feud that went on for decades. But he also engaged with Kant and Spinoza, and maybe Leibniz. I'm not as familiar.
it isn't just Einstein who holds Spinoza with such a feverish revere. Friedrich Nietzsche, the man who declared God to be dead, regarded Spinoza as his precursor.
Yeah, because Spinoza's an atheist philosopher. Well, that's not the only reason. The affirmation, the affirmative model of existence in Spinoza is very much lauded by Nietzsche. And also, the proofs for Spinoza's conception of God are not necessarily the central part of Spinoza. This is something a lot of people seem to focus in on, right? Because it's very eye-catching, right? His definitions and proofs in Book 1. That's not the only thing that Spinoza wrote even just in the Ethics. Spinoza was very much focused on the ways that people lived and to have a life-affirming way of existing. His metaphysics is directly informative of his ethics. That's why, he starts with metaphysics. because it's about what you can know. Like for Spinoza, it's about what you can know, how you get knowledge, etc. Those are important things. Those are ethical questions for Spinoza. But ultimately, like, he's not like a religious moralist by any means. And in fact, he kind of makes fun of people for practicing religious practices because he thinks that those are incompatible with a philosophical understanding of God as existence, as pure immanence. So, yeah, it's not. Also, Nietzsche broke with Spinoza a bit in his later life. He started to have more issues with the idea of causa sui, or cause of itself, which is like famously how Spinoza talks about God. So they're not. Well, Nietzsche did have a huge appreciation for Spinoza. They're not like one-to-one, certainly. Zinsight said, did he, I assume you mean Albert Einstein, engage with all the math guy philosophers? All of them? I don't know. I think he was relatively engaged. He engaged with some analytic philosophy as well. I think he was part of the Vienna Circle, some of the stuff around that. But yeah, Einstein was more philosophically involved than you would expect of modern physicists.
Stating that he was utterly enchanted and amazed by his writings. And G.W.F. Hegel, arguably the most important philosopher of the 19th century, said, "You are either a Spinozist or not a philosopher at all."
Yeah, this is true. Although Hegel, crucially, has ways that he misunderstands or takes Spinoza in a direction that's not really in line with anything classically Spinozist. So, take that with a grain of salt.
Clearly, there must be something within Spinoza's writing that speaks to some universal truth, to capture the minds of some of humanity's greatest. But before we get onto Spinoza's
Hey, we got a little Deleuze mention.
understanding of the mind, of nature, of freedom, and of humanity, all of which he does within a self-contained 180-page book, we must firstly understand Spinoza's metaphysics, more specifically, Spinoza's God. When discussing Spinoza's God, it's key to start with substance. If you've studied philosophy before, you may already be familiar.
This is sort of true. So I'll let him cook. Or does this person have pronouns listed somewhere? Oh, she, they. There we go. I will let them cook.
With the term. It's been deployed by a bunch of different philosophers such as Aristotle, Hume, Kant, but most importantly Descartes. For Descartes, he believed in substance dualism, that the mind and body were composed of two different substances. Essentially, the mind or soul is an immaterial substance, whereas the body is a material substance, stating this when discussing the substance of the
This is also important for Spinoza and a lot of philosophy, classical philosophy, both pre and post Descartes. The mind and sort of like thinking substance is non-extensive. So like the classical notion of like material substances, they have a spatial element to them. They're restricted, confined spatially, right? So like an object that you might think of has a particular extension in space. Whereas stuff that's of the mind substance is not really spatially confined in the same way. So the imagination and thinking is considered to have this sort of infinite quality to it. This becomes really important for a lot of stuff, including stuff related to Spinoza. Spinoza is not a dualist, as they will get into. Though Spinoza is, I think Deleuze calls it a parallelist. I don't know what people within Spinoza scholarship would call it, but that's a fine term.
mind, I rightly conclude that my essence consists in this alone, that I am a thinking thing, or a substance whose whole essence or nature consists in thinking. And this when discussing the substance of the body. This faculty must therefore necessarily be in some substance different from me, and this substance is a body, that is to say, a corporeal nature. But according to Descartes, there is one substance that sits above these two, that being God, and this is the substance we want to focus on. The other two substances of mind and body are both created substances. However, God is a different kind of substance. All that we can mean by substance is thing that exists in such a way that it doesn't depend on anything else for its existence. Actually, there is only one substance that can be understood to depend on nothing else, namely God. We understand a substance for Descartes to have one major property. It is the ability to exist without depending on anything else for its existence, which fits the description of God pretty well. Try and think of something that relies on absolutely nothing for its own existence. It's incredibly difficult and arguably impossible unless you're religious and believe in God. However, there is one thing that Spinoza points to as fulfilling these conditions: reality itself. In the opening pages of his magnum opus, The Ethics, Spinoza writes this when defining substance. By substance I understand what is in itself and is conceived through itself. That is, that whose concept does not
Damn, they're using the Penguin edition. That's definitely a minus point, but so far it's okay. Here, let me pull up my copy of the Ethics. By the way, the preferred copy of the Ethics is Curley's translation, which is very excellent. And has a lot of good notes, as well as Curley is one of the most incredible scholars I've ever come across, where he will cite different ways things have been translated. For example, like from a second edition, editions that were made, ways that things were translated, like from Latin into Italian, etc., and will include many of these things in the notes of the text itself, as well as having a incredibly wide. I don't know how many languages Curley knows, but they seem to have an understanding of many different branches of scholarship on Spinoza, including Guiraud, who's a very important Spinoza scholar for the modern period, heavily informed Deleuze, and French Spinozism in general, as well as many others. So, highly recommend Curley. Still alive, too. So let me pull up, since we're doing early part of the Ethics here. Okay. It's worth noting, actually, I'll save it for when we get to that, but the definitions are not necessarily supposed to be exactly self-evident or self-justifying. That would be the axioms. The axioms are supposed to be sort of sufficient in themselves. The definitions are justified through their movement in the propositions. So we will see how they cover this.
Acquire the concept of another thing from which it must be formed. So far, this seems very similar to Descartes' understanding of substance. However, Spinoza is going to introduce a couple of points that will radically shake things up. Something important to note is that Spinoza's method differs quite heavily from Descartes. Descartes spends pages upon pages of writing, outlining his arguments, adding a little flair when needed. In contrast, Spinoza lends heavily from Euclidean geometry. He begins each chapter with a set of definitions and a list of axioms, things that are taken to be undeniable and self-evident. If you turn your head 90 degrees to your second monitor, the definitions and axioms will be on screen right now.
Hi, Editing Unijoy right here. The definitions aren't on screen because I'm about to go through all of them, just the axioms for now.
From these, Spinoza builds upon and deducts truth about God, man, freedom with an immeasurable rigor. Whilst
this is only somewhat true, and this is Eldoran has a really interesting video. I'll link it at the end of stream, where he went. DGQC says He is my favorite of the Stooges too. Eldoran has a really interesting video actually going over some of the ways that Brooks's coverage of Spinoza, funny you show up in chat right as I'm about to mention you, falls into some of the slightly more Descartesian ways of talking about Spinoza, starting from the definitions as like a baseline. That's a curly joke. Oh, God damn it. Anyone know what the hell he's talking about?
He's talking about Curly and Moe and like how one of yeah.
I don't know who that is. Sorry.
It's all right. Keep going.
Okay. But yeah,
shut up, Boomer.
Basically, that the definitions are inseparable from the propositions. That they aren't necessarily sufficient in themselves.
I'm not going to spend any time covering the axioms. We will need to cover the 8 definitions before we get into the meat of Spinoza's arguments, as many of the terms being brought up may mean nothing to you if we don't cover them now. Definition 1. By cause of itself, I understand that whose essence involves existence, or that whose nature cannot be conceived except as existing. These definitions can be a little bit wordy, probably because they've been translated from Latin, but we can break them down to make it more manageable. The opening line, by cause of itself I understand that, is the term being defined here. We understand cause of itself as something whose essence involves existing. It cannot not exist by its own essence. Spinoza doesn't actually explain what he means here by essence, but thankfully he does in the definitions of the second part of the Ethics. I say that to the essence of anything belongs that which, being given, the thing is, or without that thing can neither be nor be conceived. The essence of...
Yeah, so this is going back to like classical definitions from philosophy, right? Aristotle, especially. The idea of essence is that which is necessary for the thing to exist, and especially to be the thing itself rather than other things, right? So a chair has chair essence, which makes it a chair, the chairness.
The thing is a fundamental aspect of said thing. With the essence, it is, and without it, it is not. Existing is the fundamental aspect of this thing Spinoza is describing. So we're describing this thing that 1 causes itself, and 2 whose essence involves existing. Definition 2. That thing is said to be finite in its own kind that can be limited by another of the same nature. Another slightly tricky one, but thankfully Spinoza gives us an example to make this a lot easier to decipher. A body is called finite because we always conceive another that is greater. Thus, a thought is limited by another thought, but a body is not limited by a thought, nor a thought by a body. When we say finite in its own kind, if there are 2 things of the same nature, they can be limited, finite being the opposite of infinite or infinite. But these things can only be limited by something of the same nature. A body is not limited by a thought, only limited by other bodies. Now, we've already actually covered definition 3, it was the definition of substance, but I'll explain a little bit further. Spinoza writes that substance doesn't require the concept of another thing from which it must be formed. Example, to explain what a book is, I would need to explain writing, paper, ink, and these would be the concepts of another thing. However, for substance, it simply is. There is no concept substance flows from. Substance doesn't need to be explained through another, it simply is. This is a point brought up by Matthew Gindin in his journal articles on Spinoza's Ethics, Spinoza in Plain English. He argues that a better translation of the Latin word substantia is reality, in this case at least.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at the etymology of some of these words. What is, like the word substantial, right, comes from the word substance. The idea of something having like substantial existence. Sort of same idea. It's about existence in itself.
I'm not going to outline his entire reasoning here, you can go read the first part of his article if you want to hear it, but essentially it just makes what Spinoza is talking about much clearer. So the quote again, By reality, I understand what is in itself and what is conceived through itself. We don't need to explain what reality is, because reality just is. Substance is reality. We understand what reality is in and through itself. Definition 4. By attribute, I understand what the intellect perceives of a substance as constituting its essence. An attribute is how we can cognize, understand, or
So far, great video. I guess I was baited by the title a bit. They're doing a very good job so far. Especially on a basic level and making it digestible.
What does Brooks think so far? By the way, if you feel like coming on for this video, that would be a good idea.
Brooks has not said much.
Brooks is big chillin'.
We do want your opinion. Think I'm lying to you?
This is only one explanation of the substance, attributes, and modes, though. Garreau gives a very different one, as do many different Spinoza scholars. For example, that each mode is itself an expression of only one attribute. There's some other explanations that I think the way Garreau talks about it is each attribute is its own substance, which is unified in God, something like that. Anyway, it's beside the point. This explanation is acceptable.
Perceive the substance. Though he doesn't say it here, Spinoza states that there are only two attributes available to humans, thought and extension.
Yeah.
Definition 5. By mode, I understand the affections of a substance, or that which is in another, through which it is also conceived. Mode is an expression
Brooks
of substance.
says he'll get on. He's making tea. So.
Okay.
Nice.
I.e., a book is one way that substance can be expressed. A mode is brought about or conceived by another, book being paper, paper being trees, trees being saplings, and so on. Modes, by their name, are modifications of the substance.
Yeah, they're a particular expression of substance.
Definition 6. By God, I understand a being absolutely infinite, that is, a substance consisting of an infinity of attributes, of which each...
Hi, Brooks.
Hello, Brooks.
How are you doing?
I did 2.5 hours of a pretty complicated set of paragraphs in AO, so my brain's a little fucking fried.
My brain's pretty
And I'm going to end up
too,
streaming
so-
later because I've got some things, so it's like, fuck it. So I'll just come in here. Let's talk about some Spinoza.
Hell yeah.
No, that's not right.
I
No.
love me some Spinoza. I'm a little rusty because Eldoran's been on break for so long.
Yeah, blame Elderon. That's what I do.
Yeah. It's the perfect excuse. I'm utilizing
I'm getting my tea and then I'm listening.
Okay. I'm utilizing my...
Just so
sad
far,
conscience.
this is like fine.
Yeah.
But it's like, but the problem is, and it's one of the things I find tiring about videos like this is it's basically reciting the things that are just in the book and not really explaining it, and it's tiring.
Yeah, that's fair. It's similar to what you'd get.
Might
from
get a little
like
more juicy and further on, but
Yeah, it's like skimming an SCP article or something.
It is very much that, and this stuff has like major implications, and like the whole point of his schema of the definitions and axioms and all that is how these things imply each other and how he builds like
Right.
from his own system. Again, it's
That's what I mentioned
the
earlier.
line. the line they said about how the axioms are like things that are self-evident, and it's like, well, sort of. It's they're axiomatic in that the logic follows from the previous things that have been stated or within themselves, and so it's why is that? Why does this work? How does this go? And it's just again tiring.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, but it relies on a notion of the definitions being like a fundamental starting place, which, as we've talked about, and if you remember Eldoran's discussion on that, is just not necessarily true for Spinoza. It's sort of going back to like a Descartesian notion of these things.
Yeah. I there were a handful of things about what substance is a moment ago that I'm kind of whatever. Like, what am I going to do? Argue for like, this is why I'm like, you don't want my opinion because it's like going to be like fucking 3 hours of explaining how substantia is not realitas. That's just fucking wrong. It's just super wrong. And it's very tiring.
One expresses an eternal and infinite essence. So God is an infinite being. Since God is infinite, it must have an infinite amount of attributes, since there is nothing to limit God. And since there's an infinite amount of attributes, each attribute expresses an infinite essence. Spinoza clarifies that it is absolutely infinite, not infinite in its own kind. Everything is a part of God since it is infinite. Thus, all attributes, perceptions of substance, and modes, expressions of substance, are also within God. There is no limit to God. Definition 7. That thing is called free which exists from the necessity of its nature alone, and is determined to act by itself alone. But a thing called necessary, or rather compelled, which is determined by another to exist, and to produce an effect in a certain and determinate manner. Quite simply, freedom is the ability to act from your nature alone. However, if we are pressured by external forces, we are determined by them. We are compelled to act in a determinate...
This is not... I don't think that this is actually correct at all, because if they're not going to get into the... what's the term Deleuze uses? Not complementary. The double causality of Spinoza. This is not going to be an adequate explanation at all, and it seems like we're not going there. So I guess to recap real quick, my brain's dying a bit, but I'll do my best. Spinoza
quick
has...
oxygen.
Oh, what was that?
I said quick oxygen.
Yeah, so it's the... we talked about the two attributes, right? What was it? Extension and thought. And Spinoza talks about this. Here, I'll actually pull up the proposition. But it's the order of ideas and the order of things is one of the ways that he talks about it. And for Spinoza, this forms the basis of a lot of his thinking and analysis, where things can be considered either from natura, naturata, and natura naturans, which I'm butchering the pronunciation of, but bear with me, which is the natured nature and the naturing nature. And so we have finite causality, which is sort of like what they're talking about here, where one thing causes another thing, that's sort of like pool, table, like determinism. But then we have the way that God exists is more of an immanent causality. It's the cause of everything at a basic level. And so that existence is not really deterministic in the same way. It's an expression of God's nature, but it's not this sort of let's see, what was the wording used here?
By another to exist, and to produce an effect in a certain and determinate manner. Quite simply, freedom is the ability to act from your nature alone. However, if we are pressured by external forces, we...
Yeah, so this pressuring by external forces is going to be in the realm of finite causality.
We're determined by them. We're compelled to act in a determinate manner, which is not freedom. And finally, definition 8. By eternity, I understand existence itself, insofar as it is conceived to allow necessarily from the
Okay, yeah, we're not getting into proposition.
It's a cause. It's a cause that does not require something prior to it to exert itself.
Well, it's not exactly, because it's more ultimate causality. It's my brain's too tired for this. I don't know if I can give an adequate explanation.
Like the state of things taken as a whole. It's maybe what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Now, let me pull up Proposition 25, which it looks like we're not going over in this video. 24, is it? What number is it?
This is a great interlude because now Brooks can come back and yell into my ear.
Okay, I gotta find what the proper one is. Oh, it's from part 2, of course. Okay. That's why we're not getting into it. Okay. Here we go. Here, Proposition 8. Proposition 7. Here we go. The order and connection of ideas is the same as the order and connection of things. So this is very important for Spinoza and how he builds on this. This is the dual causality, or the I'll have to look at the term that Deleuze uses later because it's a great term, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. And so this is the idea that the connection, the order of ideas and the order of things, there's two ways to read this, basically. That they are the same order, considered in different through different attributes, or that they are parallel orders. Oh, I think it's parallel causality, or parallelism, that Deleuze uses. I think that's the term. Parallelism. So this is important because both are sort of existing in parallel and are different ways of understanding reality, right? Different ways of understanding causality and existence. And if you don't have that, you don't really have a break from Descartesian dualism. The parallelism is the break from dualism.
Definition alone of the eternal thing. Eternity here is not a temporal eternity, but eternal truths. As Spinoza writes in the explanation, eternity is a necessary part of an eternal thing. It's eternally true. Spinoza is firstly concerned with how two things relate to each other, as he states in premise 2. Two substances having different attributes have nothing in common with
this is from part 1. Let's check out Proposition 2. I wish I was fresher for this, because my brain is not enjoying this. That's okay.
Hey, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Did I miss everything?
No, we're
no.
still stuck on Spinoza.
All right. Can we talk? Let's talk about one thing that was in the video earlier. I just wanted, because I was listening a little bit in and out while I went and got my tea. The attributes, which is kind of coming back again in this, is speaking about substance as if it is an objective thing itself, right? Like, we perceive the attributes of this other thing. It's how the intellect represents a substance that is itself without attributes, right?
Right. Which is not how Spinoza speaks about.
No, it's also not. I mean, you've been talking about a few really good thinkers on this. Who you've been mentioning. I don't want to like rehash, but Geralt is like the dude.
Right.
But like Deleuze, obviously, the better way to read it, and again, Curly is probably important because the translation matters a lot, is that attributes constitute the essence of substance. It is not a representation of it. It's the thing. We're dealing with the thing. This is Curly's reading fundamentally, but it's certainly Deleuze's. It's expressionism in philosophy is basically all about this very idea.
The coextensivity. Oh my god, my brain.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's how I feel too. It's fine. But like they express.
Yeah.
That's what they express. They are substance, like the being of substance as far as expression goes. They're not the thing we see in order to understand substance.
Not perception, it's expression. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not representation, which again, I say it funny because it's just makes it a lot easier for when people like need to understand when I say it's representation is stupid. No, representation, which is what representation is. That's the problem, like fundamentally with this. And it's the same kind of problem like that I'm seeing here. It's the same thing. It's this is a Platonic take on Spinoza's work that I think isn't actually able to be read into it decently myself.
Yeah, it's viewing this as like understanding how to represent reality rather than the immanent existence itself.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it.
Okay.
One another. This is reliant on the third definition I just read out. If a substance is conceived through itself and doesn't rely on the concept of another thing, then the concept of one substance doesn't involve the concept of the other. Furthermore, as we learn from Axiom 5, things that have nothing in common with one another also cannot be understood through one another, or the concept of one does not involve the concept of the other, meaning that we cannot understand one substance through the other. As we've just stated, two substances having different attributes have nothing in common. This also means that by A4, the knowledge of an effect depends on and involves knowledge of its cause, leading to the statement made in Proposition 3. If things have nothing in common with one another, one of them cannot be the cause of the other. Already in 3 pages, Spinoza has done away with Descartes' idea of created substances. Descartes argues that God, the one true substance, created the two other substances with different attributes, one immaterial and the other material. Since the attributes of God are different to that of the body and mind, they cannot be understood through each other, and if the knowledge of the effects depends on and involves the knowledge of its cause, it does not follow that one substance, God, could be the cause of other substances, body and mind. This argumentation, or
Right, but the attribute is the expression of the single substance.
Yep.
So, it's okay.
more accurately, deduction of truth, follows through until the sixth proposition.
170,000 views. I hate you people for showing me this.
Yeah.
Aww.
Dude, I have the same number of fucking subs as this person. This is terrible.
Well, this is what you need to do in a thumbnail, clearly. Where is it? Did you see this thumbnail?
Dude, my eyes have herpes now.
And you
Oh,
need
that was their channel. Let's see how many views the other stuff has.
Oh my god. Oh, I
The
hate
Of course
Spinoza
the
one
original
is way
Circus
more
video
popular
does
than
well.
everything else.
I was talking about this video.
Why is it's because of the word God. It's the man who proved God real, and so it got rage clicks
Yeah.
from all the
Proof of
Reddit
God.
atheist fucks.
Yeah.
Well, let's
He
see.
doesn't do that either, by the way. So fuck this.
I know, that's what I opened up with, saying this is a very weird framing already.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the comments? Here we go.
I mean, we could just skip to the end and see how they try to how they try to put a bow on it. The man who proved if you write your own dictionary, you can define your own word.
This is so stupid.
Yeah, this is the problem with talking about it
Sorry.
from the like Descartesian method of starting from like definitions that don't assume anything or whatever, right? Because that's not really what Spinoza's doing. He's very particular about how the geometric method works, which is not that.
How trifling.
Yeah.
One substance cannot be produced by another substance. Spinoza states that in nature there cannot be two substances of the same nature or attribute. If there were to be two substances, the distinction would have to lie in their attributes or affections, which is just another word for modifications. As according to Proposition
Affections.
Modes and modifications are not the same thing.
Yeah,
Just
that's
because
not-
words have some letters that share, don't make them the same thing.
That's not. Yeah. Don't. I mean, Spinoza's language is difficult, but that's not right.
Spinoza's language is not that fucking difficult.
True. Yeah. It's just a. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
No. This is.
If there were to be two substances, the distinction would have to lie in their attributes or affections, which is just another.
The attributes are an extension of or an expression of the nature of God. They're not affections.
The corollary is what matters here. Like this is, fuck me. Give me a second. I hate this. I hate you guys. I hate you people. All right. One second. Let me pull up Curly because this just pisses me off now. Fucking every time too. It's like everything I do. Just cool. Fuck it. So why do we give a shit? Why does Brooke stop ever doing these things? Okay.
You need to start
That
making
was,
more inflammatory titles, Brooks. I guess like
we're still in one, right? Like this is all one. This is
yes.
Proposition 6, right?
I think they're jumping. They're jumping a little bit between the axioms, the definitions, and the propositions, but we're in like proposition 6 here.
All right, one second.
I'm gonna go and grab water real quick.
You do that, and I'll just do all the work. One sec, I just gotta find proposition. There we go. Okay, fuck. Wait, it's not proposition. I'm so confused. P1. To no substance which really exists can we relate the same attribute related to another substance, or is the same in nature. There cannot be two substances unless they are distinguished really. To demonstrate, if the two substances are two, they are different. Consequently, by axiom 2, are distinguished, either really or modally. Not modally, for then, by axiom 7, the modification by their nature would be prior to the substance contrary to axiom 1. Therefore, really, hence what can be said of one cannot be by the other. One substance cannot be the cause of another substance. That's the one we're at. Isn't that what she just said? I'm so confused. This is not very well. Someone help me? I know you people are listening, Richard. Richard, Suresh.
I know a guy named Sure-Shot. Yeah, they're jumping around a lot, so it's hard. Like, since I haven't read Spinoza, it's actually really hard for me to follow.
Yeah, same.
I mean, it's not easy to read unless you understand how it's written. Because it's written, like, the first thing to remember is all of it's in Latin, because that's the kind of book this is. Like, to me, that's a first emotional standpoint you need to understand, is this is not someone who's like writing a fucking monograph. This is in Latin because the 3 other languages he normally writes in just aren't enough, right? So you got to start there. Then he's like, hey, also, by the way, I'm a math dude. Like Leibniz is a cool dude. I'm a math dude. So how do you do math proofs? Well, you do math proofs by laying, like, it's a lot of work, and there are logical chains to things. And can I do that here? So I'm going to use the geometric method that proved geometry, like how many degrees are in a circle, like proofs like that, and I'm going to apply it to God. So it's a series of axioms that then has things that follow, and then it has corollaries that go beyond that. And like the corollary, a substance cannot be produced by anything else. So when you have Proposition 7, which is what comes afterwards, Proposition 6, one substance can be produced by another substance, like alone leaves open production by non-substance. That's kind of a huge fucking deal. It's not just logic is a very big deal to Spinoza for this, right? Does that make sense as I'm saying? So like if
he isn't stating everything all at once, you need to take in the implications as well as you're going along.
Yeah.
So like if Spinoza says one substance cannot be produced by another substance, the argument doesn't end there. That's why he's got corollaries. The corollaries follow on saying, hey, by the way, there's other things that can produce. Wait, what? And then it's like kind of a big deal. That's kind of a
it's
huge
more like,
fucking thing.
Yeah, it's like instead of making a sequenced shot by shot video of this, you should be making like a map, like a diagram.
Probably a better way to put it. Yeah, this is really, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
For the fans, as you mentioned, a map or a diagram.
I always mention the map of ethics. Spinoza's map, it's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
Wow.
Like the dude spent his life doing this book. This wasn't like he did this in a weekend. Like shit relates, and it's important to understand that. And there's a reason, like, I will flat out admit I am not a Spinoza scholar in any goddamn stretch. Because a Spinoza scholar is someone like Deleuze. If you read Expression of Philosophy, for example, he is linking things together that logically follow from within ethics that I could not have picked up if I had wanted to, let alone like the amount you can dive into all of it is insane.
Yeah.
The dude is fucking wacky.
Yeah.
So each point here is like an element of the geometric proof?
Yes. So it's the way that the definitions, this is book 1, definition 1. And this is the areas where it's explicitly cited. So this is not even just everywhere it's...
premise 24, for example?
Yeah, proposition 24. So if you click on this...
Oh, proposition. Okay.
How do you pull it up? Here. The essence of things produced by God does not involve existence. So that uses definition 1 here, explicitly. There's implicit uses as well, but this is just mapping the explicit citations.
There are also people who have figured out how to do implicit and also turn it into various shapes. It's fucking crazy. There's a bunch of these projects, and they're fucking cool. But back to the stupid video. What is the time code we're at? Because I'm going to go read around this, because I didn't like what was just said, and I'm trying to figure it out.
11:10.
11:10. Perfect. Thank you.
Proposition 6.
Because it was. If you can go back 30 seconds, that would be great.
Sure.
Not be understood through each other, and if the knowledge of the effects depends on and
she's throwing these at us really fast.
Yes.
involves the knowledge of its cause, it does not follow that one substance, God, could be the cause of other substances, body and mind. This argumentation, or more accurately, deduction of truth, follows through until the 6th proposition. One substance.
Not deductive. I don't think that's a way I'd describe that, but okay.
Sorry, the language about that gets difficult because it's, it's using geometric logic, right? So it's using proofs, I think... Is it arguably deductive within a specific framework? I'm not sure. Anyway, that's okay.
Cannot be produced by another substance. Spinoza states that in nature there cannot be two substances of the same nature or attribute. If there were to be two substances, the distinction would have to lie in their attribute.
Let's see.
I don't know why I'm so zoomed in. What the fuck? Sorry, it's not you, it's me.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
What? This is... Okay, so this is Proposition 6. Okay, I do have this pulled up for stream. One substance cannot be produced by another substance. Okay. In nature, there cannot be two substances of the same attribute. Proposition 5, i.e. by Proposition 2, which have something in common with each other. Therefore, by Proposition 3, one cannot be the cause of the other, or cannot be produced by the other. Yeah, so the way that the definitions are interrelated, and these propositions, especially because...
Man.
By substance, I understand what is in itself and is conceived through itself. So, of course, if it's in itself and conceived through itself, another substance can't be conceiving it.
Man, what the fuck, man?
What the fuck, what?
I don't really have... The challenge with bad philosophy is there's bad that's entertaining, like Philosophy Tube, because you can like beat up on it because it's terrible. And then there's bad where it's like the misunderstanding is weirdly particular in a way that's like I'm going to have to explain a lot and my brain is very angry with me.
Yeah, it's
it's
structural in the way that they're approaching the explanation.
Let's just keep going because maybe there's an in, but this is incorrect generally.
By another substance. Spinoza states that in nature there cannot be two substances of the same nature or attribute. If there were to be two substances, the distinction would have to lie in their attributes or affections, which is just another word for modifications. As according to Proposition 4, two or more distinct things are distinguished from one another either by a difference in the attributes of the substance.
So, look, I'm going to be like super specific. I'm trying to be like not a dickhead and making everyone pause. Please, this isn't my stream. I am a guest and it's fun, whatever, or not fun, or I don't care. Curly specifically goes out of his way to talk about affect or affection, that in the English translations, they destroy this by fucking it up and putting it together with modifications because it's not. There's like an easy version of this that lets you play with that. But I mention it specifically because Deleuze specifically says very cleanly that affectio versus affect us are two different things. Flattening them like literally would basically delete like all in. That's like the entirety of the rest of the ethics revolves around that distinction. So it's like really upsetting to see.
Okay.
It's such an important thing. Proposition 4. Two or more distinct things are distinguished from one another, either by a difference in the attributes of the substances or by a difference in their affections. So, modes in here, they do not depend causally on substance.
Right.
Okay? And that is, this is a big deal. Like that's a big deal. This is this is the thing Deleuze focus on. There's not just him, like a lot of people have focused on since Deleuze. Like this is one of those things that's like really interesting to go over, and having someone just like paper mache over the top of it is really shitty. I'm just going to try to be nice and then just shut the fuck up. Why don't I have an avatar?
Oh, here, wait.
I made one for you, have we?
How do I add that in?
You just go to reactive.
Okay, let's do that.
Reactive?
Yeah.
What is reactive?
It's a website where you can upload an avatar and
And
each
use it as an
little-
OBS plugin.
Yeah.
Why is it not loading?
Oh, let me load in with Discord. Here we go.
You kind of
Log
know
in.
how ours work, right?
Yeah, they light it. It's I
Yeah.
guess. I don't
Yours
know.
will
They
still
light up when.
light up.
Yay!
So you don't need to do anything. It's just like if you want it to be a GIF, then you or something other than your profile picture.
I'm gonna make one while we're talking because that'll keep me from saying
can't.
slurs.
It's not loading for some reason.
Website stuff?
Good. Thanks.
Okay,
Just me, huh?
Let's see. I need to go to sources, right, Richard? It's been a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, the sources is...
You can also.
not
Oh wait, no,
responding.
you can't because you don't have two monitors.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Then you copy the link.
Right.
People get angry when I say some words, and I'm not going to say them here because this is not my place. So I'm just going to be kind about it.
It almost loaded that time. I don't know why it's failing each time. Let me close some tabs and see if it does better.
The fuck.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Oh God, Bogardus. Oh God, you guys are just evil.
I know. When I saw that, I was pretty horrified.
Okay, let's try this again. Maybe I'll try Firefox.
I don't like the Bogardus guy.
Neither do I. Okay, let's try this.
I am mildly curious about the guy interviewing them, though.
Okay, here we go, Brooks. Here's your
Yeah, I've got like a vaporwave glitchy ass fucking Greek statue of myself thing. Right? I think something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
That's
And you're gonna drop it between yourself and SureShot.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. I can't believe you didn't close up that space.
That's disgusting.
You left SureShot all by himself.
Social distancing.
Yeah, I'm stinky.
It's fair.
Okay.
Even if you were stinky, it wouldn't go through your armor. August just doesn't like you.
Well, Imran's been replaced.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay. Proposition 4, two or more distinct things are just... what is the curly here? Two or more distinct things are distinguished from one another either by a difference in the attributes of the substance or by a difference in their affections. Man, it's been too long since I reviewed book 1. I need to do more review.
I just understood the joke of Matt B in the chat. He said, some serious substance abuse is going on here. I just got it.
Banger. Therefore, there is nothing outside the intellect through which a number of things can be distinguished from one another except substances. Or, what is the same, by definition 4, their attributes and their affections. Right. Because these are coextensive. Okay.
Or by a difference in their affections. If the substance differed from their affections or modifications, well, we can just kind of put that to one side. As in Proposition 1, Spinoza writes, A substance is prior in nature to its affections. Affections are modifications of the substance, so it follows that a substance must be a priori. We must consider
It's causa soi, not a priori. Right? Is that wrong? I don't really think it's a priori.
It's causa soi.
substance in itself. If we're looking
That's
at
a
two
sweet.
substances which are both
What was that?
It's like Casa Sui.
Causa soi.
No.
in themselves, then we can't really make a distinction between the two. So there must be a distinction within the attributes then, right? Well, if two substances share an attribute, what the intellect perceives as its essence, then again we end up with a single substance. This one tripped me up a bit, so I'll give a very strange analogy. Say if I have two cans of red paint, both
Oh, here you go.
exactly the same
ready.
down to the final digit of their hex code. If I'm trying to distinguish the paint, I can't really point to the wall or the card that I've just painted, because these are modifications of the substance. If I try
Wait, what? Okay.
analogy, say if I have two cans of
Paint,
red
it's not a
paint,
hex
both mixed
code.
exactly
It's a
the
pigment.
same down to the final digit of their hex code.
But okay, we're already working backward from representation. What? Are we saying that these are like the same mode? This is weird.
If I'm trying to distinguish the paint, I can't really point to the wall or the card that I've just painted, because these are modifications of the substance. If I try and distinguish the two paints by their attributes of being red, which, to be clear, isn't actually an attribute for Spinoza, then I can't point to any differences because they're exactly the same. There's just one
You know
red
what-
paint.
you know what's
So
really
let's
good?
loop back around to propositions.
Like when you're making a video and you use a example and then you say, actually this has nothing to do with it, but fuck it.
Yeah, they're saying
I try to do that in all my videos. So Deleuze is talking about desiring machines, and like desiring machines, when I paint my nails, nail paint is exactly the same. I mean, it's nothing like it and has nothing to do with it, but we're going to continue anyway. Fuck, what the fuck?
this is nonsense.
Two cans of paint are two extended finite modes
Yeah.
that are individuated with specificity in their spatiality. It is a resource that both fundamentally exist only within the attribute of extension.
Right.
They're
They're-
unavailable at the level of substance. So, yay!
Yeah. They're both part of one of the two attributes that we have access to, which is extension. I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've just
Yeah.
painted.
Red
because
is
these
red is a mode of extension,
Right.
right? But it's an inadequate mode, probably. I think color for him is inadequate. It fundamentally is. He has a imaginative. It's imaginative, which is not. That's not good. So this is bad. This is bad.
Yeah, I think.
Cool. This is
of
fun.
the
Thanks
substance.
for having me.
If I try and distinguish the two paints by their attributes of being red, which
What? That's not an attribute. What?
Not at all.
How is red?
The attribute of being red.
Oh God.
Red is a mode of extension. That's it.
I thought we
There's
already. went
no.
over
There's
that
no other
there-
way around it.
Well, this is why I mentioned earlier that there's two attributes, and it's how Spinoza works through his parallelism, is the mode of extension and the mode of thought. Like, what if you don't understand that, you're not doing Spinoza at all. You're just doing, like, I guess, ancient Greek philosophy. I don't know what you're doing.
It's crazy, man.
clear isn't actually an attribute for Spinoza,
Oh,
then
okay. So we're clarifying it isn't actually an attribute.
Yeah, that's what I thought she said. It's terrible.
Okay.
can't point to any differences because they're exactly the same. There's just one red paint. So
So their explanation is like self-admittedly incoherent and inapplicable. What?
Yeah, I don't get what the point of this analogy is.
Background to Proposition 6. As we learnt in Proposition 5, two substances cannot have the same attribute of thought or extension. Then, by Proposition 2, two substances having different attributes have nothing in common with one another. Thus, by Proposition 3, if things have nothing in common with one another, one of them cannot be the cause of the other. Therefore, Proposition 6. One substance cannot be produced by another substance. After establishing that one substance cannot create another substance, Spinoza moves on to discussing the nature of substance itself and the qualities it possesses. Firstly, we note that it pertains to the nature of substance to exist. If by A2, what cannot be conceived through another must be conceived through itself, we know that substances cannot be conceived through other substances and thus must be the cause of itself. Then by definition 1, by cause of itself I understand that whose essence involves existence, or that whose nature cannot be conceived except as existing. Since a substance is the cause of itself, it pertains to the nature of a substance to exist, and we cannot conceive of it except as existing. This thus must be the cause of itself. Then by definition 1, by cause of itself I understand that whose essence involves existence, or that whose nature cannot be conceived except as existing. Since a substance is the cause of itself, it pertains to the nature of a substance to exist, and we cannot conceive of it except as existing. This is the first feature of substance. The second being that every substance is necessarily infinite.
No. Just no.
Since a substance is the cause of itself, it pertains to the nature.
That's not what Proposition 7 says. What?
No. It
Not at all.
It's his demonstration isn't even that phrasing.
I believe it's she, they. Pronouns.
I'm talking about
Sorry,
Spinoza.
Talking about
My bad, yeah.
Spinoza. Yeah.
She, they, Spinoza.
Spinoza is not she, they.
That would
I
be-
don't think. I was not referring to. I'm no, dude, you motherfucker. Now I'm
Sorry,
all
sorry.
fucking. Is your pronouns dick and head?
Temporary.
Obviously it's about Spinoza. Spinoza has demonstrations of this, and the line that's sort of what she used, but it's not right. Substances can't be produced by anything else. Therefore, it is the cause of itself. Not must be the cause of itself. That would imply necessity, which is really not the point that's happening here.
Hmm. Um, So I think she meant to cite Proposition 8 here. Every substance is necessarily infinite. The demonstration is a substance of one attribute does not exist unless it is unique by Proposition 5 and pertains to its nature to exist by Proposition 7. Of its nature, therefore, it will exist either as finite or as infinite, but not as finite, for then by definition 2, definition 2 was right, limited by its own kind. It would have to be limited by something else of the same nature. Okay, great. Which would also have to exist necessarily by Proposition 7. And so there would be two substances of the same attribute, which is absurd by Proposition 5. Therefore, it exists as infinite. Yeah. Okay. What is she saying?
She's saying a lot right here, and it's not right.
Yeah.
Thus must be the cause of itself. Then by definition 1, by cause of itself I understand that whose essence involves existence, or that whose nature cannot be conceived except as existing. Since a substance is the cause of itself, it pertains to the nature of a substance to exist, and we cannot conceive of it except as existing. This is the first feature of substance. The second being that every substance is necessarily infinite. As stated in definition 2, that thing is
Right, because the conception of substance is as having particular attributes. The substances don't share. The conception of substance is that there's not a sharing of attributes, and so it can't be limited by other attributes. Where
to be finite in its own kind that can be limited by another of the same nature. According to Proposition 5, there can only be one substance of the same nature.
Okay, wait, we're jumping back to Proposition 5 here. Okay.
Leading us to conclude that a substance is necessarily infinite. It cannot be limited by another substance of the same nature, as there cannot be two or more substances of the same nature. If there is no limit making the substance finite, then it must be infinite. Then
Yes, according to its attributes. The scholium here, since being finite is really in part a negation, and being infinite is an absolute affirmation of the existence of some nature, it follows from Proposition 7 alone that every substance must be infinite. Right. Because of its attributes. Or if we assume a finite substance, we would in part deny existence to its nature. Yeah, okay. Here she's not really adding anything, but doesn't seem exactly wrong. Yeah, it's just reading out the sections.
Proposition 9 and Proposition 10, Spinoza says, the more reality or being each thing has, the more attributes belong to it. Each attribute of a substance must be conceived through itself. Whilst this seems a little off topic for now, it's important to note. All of this has been building up to the big part, to the title of the video. Proposition 11.
There we go.
God, or a substance consisting of infinite attributes, each of which expresses eternal and infinite essence, necessarily exists. 7 pages into the book and Spinoza has proven that God necessarily exists. That's why he's the GOAT, but...
Fuck you. This is terrible.
Into the book and Spinoza has proven that God necessarily exists. That's why he's the GOAT, but how does he actually do this? Well, let's look back at definition 6. By God, I understand a being absolutely infinite, that is, a substance consisting of an infinity of attributes, of which each one expresses an eternal and infinite essence.
Right.
The previous work we've gone through has established that substance is, by Proposition 8, infinite, and by Proposition 9, has an infinite amount of attributes, and because
Right, okay.
this expresses an infinite essence, and by Proposition 7, necessarily exists.
Isn't... Okay, wait. There's a definition of essence in here. Where is it? Wish I could word search this document, but unfortunately it's a bad scan. Let's see. Where's the thing where he talks about essence? God damn it, okay.
The nature belonging to substance that we've discerned fits the definition of God. This is Spinoza's God. He continues stating that if you deny this, you must deny, by A7, that it is not in a substance's essence to exist. However, this point is brought to absurdity by literally everything we've talked about, but more specifically Proposition 7. Furthermore, Spinoza posits that each thing must have a cause or a reason, both for its existence or non-existence. The example he gives is of a triangle. There is a reason or cause for the existence of a triangle, but if something is non-existent, there must be a reason for that too. The example he uses is of a square circle. There's a contradiction within its being.
What was that?
I changed my avatar. You got to make it bigger.
Oh.
Yeah, I need to smack him in the face every time I talk.
There we go.
Got to make it big.
That's awesome.
Reasoning, cause for existence or non-existence, must come from within the nature of the thing. The nature of substance, which we have extensively covered, involves existence. So we have a reason and cause.
My understanding of why you can't have a square circle is because you can't have ideas that are overlapping in this way are not adequate in themselves. They are necessarily like confused.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can't make a circle that has a corner.
I don't care anymore. Do I care? Why do I care? What the fuck?
I care. I care.
Okay. So this has to do with a very specific misreading. Let's look at Proposition 11, Demonstration 2, which is the opposite. The point is contrast here. Okay. The reason why a circle exists, or a triangle exists, or square, or whatever, or why it doesn't exist, doesn't follow from the nature of a triangle or a circle or a square. Instead, it's the order of corporeal nature. Finite things. They obtain their reason outside of themselves. So a square circle is the opposite case. Its non-existence follows from the same inherent nature because its definition is self-contradictory, not self-creating. So when Spinoza moves, and this is the reason I mention is this is like the God thing. God is the third and unique case for Spinoza. Existence follows from his very nature.
Right.
That's it. That's it. It's a external reason, internal reason, and that's it.
Yeah. The
Like,
reason why a
that's
substance
it.
exists also follows from its nature alone, because it involves existence.
Yeah, it's the principle of sufficient reason, basically.
The reason why a circle or triangle exists, or why it does not exist, does not follow from the nature of these things, but from the order of the whole of corporeal nature. Right. There's a... Would this have to do with extension?
Sure. But I mean, again, the example of the triangle in demonstration 2, a triangle exists because it's the nature of the triangle.
Mhm.
Like it is the way we define a triangle is just a triangle.
Mhm.
Right? But if we say a square circle, well, I'm defining a thing and I'm creating a thing that can't exist.
In a contrast. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like one is the triangle in extension. It's it's the extensive reason, a triangle's definition as a thing, right?
Mhm.
Like that's the idea. Internal reasons for non-existence would be a squared circle, despite the jokes I want to make. That's not a thing. And that is because it has an internal reason for non-existence. God, the third case, has an internal reason for existence, which is we'll say
by its
rare.
nature.
Yeah.
This one continues on. For from this order, it must follow either that the triangle necessarily exists now, or that it is impossible for it to exist now. Interesting, yeah.
Must come from within the nature of the thing. The nature of substance, which we have extensively covered, involves existence. So we have a reason and cause from within the thing for its existence.
Okay.
If we want to conjure
Also,
up a
guys-
reason or
I know we're gonna end soon, but I still have to leave a little bit early.
Okay, yeah,
Responsibilities call.
I gotta go in like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
I will see
great.
y'all later.
I came in to have this miserable fucking time, and you leave.
Hey, I can stay.
That's
I can
cool.
Stay. You can be stuck
Let's
here with
say
me,
the
Brooke.
cool kid shows up to the fucking party and everyone leaves. I get it. That means I'm not the cool kid. So you were lying to me. I get it. That's fine. I'm a fucking joke.
I like how you don't want to hang out. I like how you don't want to hang out with me, Brooks. I appreciate it.
I'm not going to sit on stream with you. Am I?
I don't know.
I'm the one.
You
with
want to?
OBS,
Are you the one streaming right now?
No, I'm the one.
I'm not streaming. August
then you
is streaming.
can't. August is streaming. He can't hand that shit off.
Existence, then it must come from the nature of substance itself. But if it's the nature of substance to exist, then we run into a contradiction. Alternatively, we could
What?
non-existence, then it must come from the nature of substance. Cause for existence or non-existence must come from within the nature of the thing. The nature of substance, which we have extensively covered, involves existence. So we have a reason and cause from within the thing for its existence. If we want to conjure up a reason or cause for its non-existence, then it must come from the nature of substance itself. But
Oh, Jesus Christ. 108,000 views, dude.
if it's the nature of
170,000
substance to
fucking views.
exist, then we run into a contradiction. Alternatively, we could find the reasoning for God's non-existence in another substance of a different nature.
What? How would that work? God is.
But you can't, it wouldn't. Let me
Yeah,
just
it
answer the
doesn't.
question for you.
It
No. No. The answer is no.
I mean, this whole video was very aggressively mid, which I guess I'll give it credit.
The only
for
way that works, the only way what she's saying works is if, like, basically every proposition entirely holds. Basically, the entire chain, including the misstatements she's made, as well as the places we know there are gaps in Proposition 2 and 5, for example. Like, it proposes and presupposes a entire, like, principle of God damn it, we were just talking about it. Come on.
it's not using the geometric method in the way that it's fundamentally built.
No, there's a phrasing I had that this is the fuck. You motherfucker, god damn it.
Representational?
No. Of substantial. God damn it. Fuck, I don't know. Don't forget about it. I don't fucking know.
To do that, the other substance would, by Proposition 2, have nothing in common with God, therefore it could not give a reason for its
We've already by back to the god damn it.
Principle of substantial reason. Sorry, it took my brain a second. Kant already, like, everyone, it doesn't matter. What am I doing? Hume rejected this. What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
This is not the good stuff.
This doesn't even work because by definition 6, God is a substance consisting of infinitely many attributes. So it already precludes this even if you're going off this way this doesn't work at all.
Well, and again, it's all of this is kind of coming back to this idea that this proves God exists. No, it doesn't. Not God as this person's using it, not God as it means anything today. So the substance God, the one, the all and the all one, the chaosophy, the thing Spinoza's doing is so fundamentally not the modern understanding of God, or even the past understanding, honestly, that it's next to impossible to even have this conversation meaningfully.
Yeah, it's the production of an entirely new way of understanding God and existence using language that's particular to Spinoza.
existence by Proposition 3. Thus, Spinoza concludes with this. Therefore, There is no cause or reason either in God or outside God which takes his existence away, and therefore God necessarily exists.
I gotta go and make dinner. Sorry, everyone.
That's okay. I was doing it earlier.
Well,
I'll
I
be
had,
streaming
I had
later,
some
probably.
fun. I had some fun. I learned a little bit.
I've got bad philosophy I'm doing later. It happens.
No fun. We'll drop by that later.
Looking forward to it.
No, you shouldn't be. It's not as good as this.
Uh,
Okay. We were going to go over this with Eldoran. Yes. Yeah, No, I ranted about this one for the Albert Einstein inclusion for a while, but anyway. We're going to end off here. Where's the end stream button? I lost it. Okay. Here we go. Thank you everyone for joining us. And that's in stream.